In this week's presentation, I will be covering the topic corruption and scandals during post-war Japan. I will also be examining the questions: why is corruption so difficult to stop in Japan? Are politicians seriously attempting to end structural corruption? In order to further discuss these questions, we must consider Japan's complex and strong ties to its cultural traditions. One example includes Japan's gift-giving culture. From the past to the present, Japanese people believe that the exchange of gifts will develop a reciprocate pattern, deepening each other's friendship. On and giri, which means favor and duty, can be used when new neighbors greet each other, birthdays, and other social events. Traditionally, people give expensive fruits, tea, and cash in a white envelope. To the Japanese, the gift givers are seen as admirable and thoughtful. However, within the political realm, gift-giving can be used to the politician's advantage by fabricating bribery. Recipients receive huge amounts of cash or even land as a gift, cornering them obligation to repay the giver. When an election is expected, there is an increase of on and giri with politicians and their voters. It has become a part of Japanese culture where voters expect politicians to pay for their votes. This complexity has resulted to an intensity of money politics within Japan. We must also consider what has led politicians to resort to bribery. The cost of being a politician is expensive. For a local member, it costs $1 million to have a seat in the party. New members are to contribute $2 million, whereas senior members can be expected to pay tens of millions of dollars. When an upcoming election is coming, politicians need to fluctuate their numbers in voters in order to win the election. Within the political world, election candidates are compared against opposition parties along with their rivals within their own party towards their generosity and amount of contribution they give to their voters. This alone can drive politicians to corruption. In the table, we can see a continuity of politicians charged for corruption scandals. Since the 20th century, Japan would discover a corruption scandal with politician involvement in every decade. Within their multi-member system, parties must fund all of their electoral candidates' electoral campaigns. For the sake of winning the election, politicians are pressured to make social events or fundraisers to gain popularity. Electoral campaigns such as tours, social ceremonies, and support fundings are all expensive politicians and their parties must cover to win their voters. The Liberal Democratic Party, known as the LDP, have been the largest and most influential party since 1955. Its vast numbers of members and strong influence amongst the majority of Japanese districts have allowed the LDP to outspend rivaling opposition parties. Smaller parties are pressured, having to scavenge resources and funds to outshine the LDP. Without a decent amount of funds or support, smaller parties cannot be certified a position in elections. Thus, the desperation for corruption is very likely to happen. That being said, the LDP too are pressured to bribery, as being the largest party has made the LDP obligated to reward their voters more heavily than other parties. The constant concern for money politics, whether one can outshine the other, has resulted to tainting politicians for the satisfaction of its supporters. The LDP has engaged in a bureaucratic industrial complex where each sector exchanges favors through connections and wealth. When referring to the Iron Triangle, the LDP depends on bureaucracy to administer technical expertise and legislative initiatives that favor their regulations. They also depend on big businesses for electoral campaign funding and voting support. In exchange, the LDP favors the bureaucracy with government resources such as jobs and provide protection and policies that favor big businesses. During the Lockheed scandal, Prime Minister Tanaka Kakue was indicted for accepting bribes worth 500 million yen from Lockheed Corporation. He, along with other officials, had agreed to eventually replace all Nippon Airways planes with Lockheed L-1011 TriStar jets. Upon his bribery led accusations of 16 politicians, including Tanaka. Although Tanaka was convicted in the lower court, he was able to appeal his case. On 1993, Tanaka had passed away while still appealing. Despite his forced resignation from LDP in 1976, Tanaka Kakue remained as a popular figure to many Japanese people. Tanaka used his connections and wealth to take control of his former faction and remain powerful within the political field. The Tokyo District Court has sentenced Tanaka for 4 years in prison and to repay the bribe, which was worth $2.1 million at that time. However, Tanaka was able to appeal, making him free on bail during this process. Until his death in 1993, Tanaka remained in the parliament and was never charged. Politicians such as Tanaka Kakue have the power and resources to escape from the law and protect themselves against charges. Voters turn a blind eye and become distracted with the benefits rewarded to them without considering the act of bribery. It is the middle-class members, like Tanaka's co-defendants, that suffer, acting as a scapegoat and take the blame from their superiors' actions. Following after the Lockheed scandal, the recruit scandal brought the Japanese great concern about their political system and how top officials can escape sentences. This became one of the 4 most corrupted scandals in post-war Japan. The recruit scandal was an insider trading corruption scandal that involved members from every political party except the Japanese Communist Party. Recruit, a job search company, gave privileged information of its shares to Japanese officials prior to releasing them to the public. As a result, Recruit's share price drastically increased, profiting each Japanese official with an average profit of 66 million yen. Recruit's founder, Hiromasa Ezoe, saw this increase in wealth and connection as a key to buying himself into politics. It was not until 1988 June, when deputy mayor of Kawasaki was discovered on receiving pre-listed shares and 20 stories of land from Recruit. This later revealed 159 members had received similar shares. This included the 3 top officials of LDP, Kiichi Miyazawa, that later became the 78th Prime Minister in 1991, Foreign Minister Shintaro Abe, and current Prime Minister Noboru Takeshita. In the aftermath, Takeshita resigned in 1989. However, out of the 159 members indicted, only a few, mainly middle-class officials, were convicted. Again, like the Lockheed case, lower-ranked officials became sacrifices, allowing their superiors to escape conviction. Overall, it seems that media is the only source that is regulating the political system. However, it can only do so much as to reveal scandalous activities. Prosecutors are restrained with limited power to overthrow powerful officials. Even if they are to persuade the judges, tainted politicians like Tanaka Kakue can easily escape sentences and rejoin the political system with their wealth and connections. So can we stop this corruption? It is very difficult to impose strict policies on bribery, as Japanese culture has strong traditions of gift giving. Prosecutors are handicapped as they cannot provide sufficient proof to confirm elite politicians' involvement with scandals. Following after Tanaka Kakue, Japan politics has proven its lack of urgency to prevent corruption. After multiple corruption cases, if Tanaka can pay for bail and still freely control his former faction till his death, why can't future politicians? Overall, the Japanese attitude to expect excessive expenditure on electoral campaigns has maneuvered electoral candidates' competition into money politics.